Somewhere in the forests close to the Czech-German border, there are ruins of an old processing plant. Once an important site of wartime industry, now reclaimed by nature. Hidden, yet in plain sight. Join me as I explore the abandoned structures of Rolava. Quite luxurious for a lost place, as it has its own parking. With the parking right there and this closed off area right here where you can only walk, it does not really give this, suddenly I was in the middle of it kind of vibe as the thing in Latvia did, for example. And you also hear it maybe a little bit in the background. There's other people around, so this is very much accessible. And so here we are in Rolava. As you can see, we're in a beautiful forest. And we already have a few structures right here. Take a look at this. It's directly here in the middle of the forest. It's now completely taken over by nature. Quite an impressive view. Well, we're off to a good start, but also a dirty one. Little pro tip, do not repeat my not so pro decision of wearing those kind of shoes at this kind of ground. So we're on an area of an old tin factory. Now, knowing my channel, you probably think, okay, yeah, there was some Soviet tin factory. No, in fact, it was a German one back then in the war times, Second World War, from the Nazis. But most of the workers here were actually Soviet prisoners of war who were sent here for forced labor, and the tin that they produced was very important for all of the war operations. Well, this also has a German name, this whole thing right here, and that one is Sauersack. It literally kind of means what it sounds like. It's sour sack. So not the most charming name, so we prefer Rolava. At least in this area, it's easy to explore everything and to find everything. You just got to follow the other people. Wow, that is not safe at all. Wow, okay. You have like half of a wall still here. Just hanging in the middle of this thing. Let's see what this structure is. Holes in the bottom and something that looks like some tracks, train tracks. A lot of foundations of former buildings were still visible along the way, but at the time of exploring, I couldn't really tell much about all of the different structures, so I'll add some text descriptions here instead. You can already see it a little bit hidden behind those trees there. There's a... wow! As I already said, I do not have the right shoes for this. I almost slipped while walking and talking here. So there's one building right here. Little one with kind of a funnel-like structure here in the middle. And then we have this big one. Okay. Oh wow, it even goes somewhere there, but not much. And then we have a third building that is hiding here. And already, as you can see, has a tree growing on top of it. That's how old all of those things are. Little correction here. It is actually not two buildings, it is one very huge one. All of this is connected somehow. All right. It is crowded. There are many people here. First steps I'm going up here. Let's hope it's not the last thing I'm doing. And you can still see that there are some metal structures and even some wires that are still hanging from the ground, hanging from the ceiling. Of course, obviously, many things in here have also been salvaged already by looters. You can't really expect to see, I don't know, some old machinery here. Let's see what's on the upper floors, I guess. Ooh. Let's see how we can further progress somehow to the upper levels. Also, wherever I'm staying tonight, the hotel is gonna hate me for those shoes, man. This is a little bit of an unprepared journey, even though I knew that I wanted to come here. Happens. Here we have those funnel-like structures that I was talking about. And a whole lot of red tinted stone coming out of it. I saw a staircase that even had, you know, a little bit of things around so that you don't fall out of it. Let's go up there. You know, this place is accessible for everybody. However, if you look up, for example, this kind of stuff, that right here, it could fall off anytime. Always be aware of that. Be aware of that when you walk up here somewhere, and be aware of that when you're walking on one of the other floors here. This is a little bit of a literally dead end. There's also no more stairs that lead up here, as we already saw. I guess we gotta find some other way up there. Like, this was not the way. I was very confident that this was the way, but you never know in old buildings like that. So the search continues. I may or may not have teleported here. So no, I actually, you know, went up here by foot, so to say. Don't ask how. Like, it was a little bit of a questionable situation with camera and all of this, so I did not film how I got up here. I needed both of my arms. Anyway, a little bit, you can see it in this direction, that there's some other cool spot behind that wall. However, we will see it better if we make it upstairs. That is our goal. Now we are on the level where these steps are. This last remaining staircase here that leads up, well, this one over there as well, but it's harder to access this one from somewhere. So we're just walking through those dripping ruins right here. Oh, that's an incredible view. Look at this. Wow. What people at least did is they placed those things here that your feet don't get too wet, I guess. I don't know. And here we are at the next set of questionable staircases. All right. This part looks like it's on the ground, but it's just another level of this building, and it's more or less completely reclaimed by nature. I mean, it also had a little bit more time than Chernobyl, for example, had. You know, Chernobyl was not that long ago as this era, but it's crazy, you know, it's just a little bit of soil on top of those plates right here, and still you have big trees growing here. This right here is this other part of the building, and we have some more staircases. So people are up there, so it's got to be kind of safe. And right next to the staircase, another death trap. How fun. Got two more funnels here, like the ones downstairs. And we're almost at the top of the building. Wow. So that's how you access the other part of it. How fun. You saw it. That's the way how you get in and out of this part. Sadly, from the place where we are right now, you don't really see this other spot that I was talking about, which is right there. I tell you what, I'm going to be a total menace for whatever hotel I'm ending up in. My shoes are beyond recognition. My pants, for whatever reason, you know, they're bright pants. And look at that, not so bright anymore, huh? This is the travel channel, this is Del Vanto. I don't recognize it anymore. We're doing completely different things here these days. Wow. Yeah, we came somewhere from down there where those people that just came through this other thing are now going. Below the ground, seemingly. Okay, yeah. I talked enough. I guess it's time to somehow make it in there. I definitely won't make it in there with the camera because it will simply be too much of a setup again. So excuse me that I'm not filming how I awkwardly try to enter this place. See you on the other side. Ugh, stuck. Help. Okay. Have another stain on my pants, but at least we're now in this other shaft, in this other funnel right here. And this is our final challenge. We gotta climb up here to reach the top of the building. You know, I could have just taken the Bali route. I could have just made this channel a completely different thing. But I chose Eastern Europe and at some point ended up in places like this. Well, now we gotta push through with it. That is that. You might have to be a little bit more careful here, as you know, you can go down quite far here. Same principle as with this other bridge once. If you plan to fall down there, just don't. Don't do it. Not really worth it. But you can see it a little bit, this huge still water basin from here. That is the only thing that is missing now, where we still need to go. And we will. Quick check on the little bit lower level here. Maybe we find some secrets here. Not really. We have a snail, if anyone was asking for that. But yeah, here's just another room. Look at this view. Steps here are always a bit of an adventure. So yes, make sure that you know how to walk. I don't know, there's like not really any other advice I can give you here. Here is where our path ends, as this looks like a lot of things, with safe most certainly not being one of them. Anyway, as you might expect, we need to go the entire way down again that we went up. Let's hope that we make it down safely, and then we take a look at this weird water basin. And I think that's it. It's a real puzzle to go back. You really gotta remember or find the correct way, because otherwise that's it. That's some video game kind of stuff. Speaking of, where did I come from? Gotta follow the footsteps, you know. Now we're using the bush tactics. There you go. We're not the only ones who went all the way up there. Some more adventurers right here behind us. Beautiful. Ah, I found the stairs. I found the stairs. Almost back at ground level. Now comes the hardest part. The other part that I didn't film. All the way there. There. Here. And back to safety. Finally, we can leave this building behind and head on to this last part, which is this huge water basin. And it's directly next to it, behind this brick wall right here. And well, it looks like this. Wow, okay, almost slipped again. Whole lot of death traps to avoid today. How fun. This is the other side of this basin. This massive basin was also part of the mining process. It was used to wash the ore-bearing rocks, allowing the fine sediments to slowly settle at the bottom. What a journey. Lots of friendly people around, and either way, even if it wasn't really that much of a historical thing, that at least that I could tell you, it is of course a very historical location. That was a blast, really. I enjoyed this a lot. This kind of videos is still more of an exception on this channel, but there will be more where we also explore some abandoned stuff like that, mostly Soviet stuff though. But this was a little exception of some kind. Even if you don't go to those ruins, like this is a nice walk here. Lots of people also simply walk around here. Not everybody goes on top of that building or things like that. So yeah, well yeah, out here it just seems more and more like your average forest walk, which is still beautiful, but I feel like we've reached our goal, and you probably heard it over the course of the whole video that my voice is getting more and more used up, you know? So I guess we're ending this video here. I really can't wait to have a beer after this. You know, some good old, what do you have here? Pilsner. Nevertheless, I would say it's been an adventure. And as always, thank you so much for watching. And let's get out of here.